Okay, we're good.
Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's Upper Rio Grande Flood Planning Group meeting. For the record, it is 9:04 a.m. and we've met quorum. We have at least 7 members on. We also have plenty of guests, so I'd like to welcome everybody and then recognize who's here with us, and that way we get to take a roll. So my name is Omar Martinez. I serve as the chair. We also have Dr. Suping Cheng. We have Dave Hall. I see voting members. I see Javier Acosta, Gisela Dagnino, Gilbert Saldañ, Jeff Bennett, and then any other voting member is present. I see Levi.
Oh, Levi Bryan, sorry, my camera wasn't on.
Yeah, we're good. Camera, sir. Richard Bagans is here with TWDB. Okay, then Gilbert Andujo from ACOM. I see Chase. I can't see the last name. Last starts with the K. Alejandra Marco, Carlos Velarde. Carlos, can you turn on that's another voting member. Can you turn on your camera, please? I see Lisa from the ACOM team. Alderman Cantu from San Elizario. I see
Carlos.
Joanna McKenzie from Hudspeth County. I also want to recognize Elijah from, you have to help me out here. You are from, General Lano. I know it was a state agency. Philip Boyd. And that's all I'm able to see here in the chat. Can you, if I didn't mention your name, can you at least call it out so that we can have you on record?
Good morning. This is Padinero Unikrishna. I'm the Chief of the Engineering Services Division, USIBWC.
Thank you.
Good morning. This is Ramon Macias, Principal Engineer for IBWC.
Thank you.
I don't think you got a camera.
Okay, no worries. Anybody else that would like to introduce themselves?
Good morning. I don't know if you got my name or not. My name is Lisa Tracking-Mears. I'm with the Army Corps of Engineers.
Lisa from the Corps of Engineers, am I correct? Okay, thank you. Anybody else with us? Somebody on the phone, maybe? Okay, well, we'll check it a little later. So that's agenda item number 1. Agenda item number 2, public comments. Anybody from the comment here today that would like to address this group? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item number 3. Review and approve the minutes for the meeting held on May 25, 2022, June 30, 2022, and July 13, 2022. All members have had an opportunity to review these minutes. Is there any changes requested?
Yes.
Okay.
A comment, this is Dave Hall, a comment on May 25th minutes in the paragraph number 3. I think it's Texas Water Development Board, BOAR needs a D on it.
That's right.
Okay,
Wow.
and then in the 3rd paragraph under number 3, the last line says he thanked ACOM for all of the assistance with Hudson County requests. That seems to associate better with the 2nd paragraph than with that paragraph. So I'm just suggesting that line be moved into the 2nd paragraph because that's where the mention is of the Hudspeth County activities.
Got it.
And then I'm in the last paragraph under 3, I'm wondering if we've received any feedback from the board on the request that I made of Ream Zone for to consider additional funding for communities to tap into technical assistance for other organizations who can assist in preparing applications. And I haven't seen anything come back yet, so I wonder if the board has a response on that.
Richard, would you please check up on that when you get a chance? We made the request. Any additional technical assistance as an update? The TWB did get feedback from the Sunset. There's Sunset review process also hinting at this. So I'm sure they're working on something and we'll hear back soon, but an email or just a call would certainly appreciate it. Richard, thank you.
Okay, yes, I'll follow up on that.
Anything else, sir?
Yeah, on page 3, under paragraph number 6, 3rd paragraph and number 6, second line, I think the term where you probably doesn't need to be there.
Where you were public comment at.
Yeah, just get rid of where you, so group must have a public meeting where public comment will be accepted. And just get rid of where you,
Got it.
okay. And then on page 4. I had a question about any feedback on the last line in paragraph 7. About Mr. Krosner. And I don't know if you've gotten any feedback on that yet.
I haven't.
Okay, and then down in number 12, I noticed that Jeff Bennett made the motion and you have Jeff Bennett for seconding.
Oh, that's right.
I don't think we can do that, so somebody needs to go back and look to see who motioned and seconded there. And just change the name so that they aren't the same person for motioning and seconding.
Wow, Jeff.
Good job, Jeff.
Thank you. Sometimes members don't answer, so Jeff just took care of it.
That's it.
Okay, any other, on the other meetings?
No,
Okay,
I don't have anything on the other.
I jotted them down here, so all your comments.
Okay.
So we'll be good.
Okay.
So, entertain a motion to approve all 3 sets of minutes with Dave Hall's comments.
So moved. It's okay.
And Gisela Tagnino seconded
Okay.
the motion for agenda item number 3. Any further discussion? Thank you, Carlos, for turning on your camera. Appreciate it, sir.
I'm on the truck, but not
Okay.
driving.
We've met quorum, so I would appreciate it if your camera is on, but I know things happen when you're driving. Feel free to.
Yeah, but I'm not driving.
Okay, got it. Thank you. Okay, first and second, any further discussion? No, we said no. All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes. Agenda item number 4, discussion and potential action regarding administrative expenses to be submitted to the Texas Water Development Board for reimbursement. AECOM, do you all have this information? Net, it wasn't able to join us today. But would you be able to take the lead on this?
You know what, Omar? I was supposed to get that to Annette before the meeting, but we went ahead and said we'll go ahead and cover that, table it on this meeting and cover it on the next one. I
Got
should
it.
have that out to her either today or first thing tomorrow morning.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you. We'll add it to the next one. Agenda item number 5, updates from Richard Bagans, Texas Water Development Board.
Hi, everyone. This is Richard Bagans from the Water Development Board. Just a few updates. We are in the final crunch to finalize the draft regional flood plans, which you guys need to approve to submit to TWDB for the consultants. There was an email blast sent out from our flood planning email address about submission requirements for the consultants to follow in terms of hard copies and electronic copies as well. So refer to those email blasts for those specifics. And the only other update I have would be just a reminder to get the subcontract amendment. Keep working on that between Rio Grande COG and AECOM. You all approved a budget memo to shift money from task 12 to task 11. I believe it was back in April or May. That was approved by TWDB. So we're just waiting on that new budget to appear through the subcontract with AECOM now. That's all the updates I have. Does anybody have any questions or anything that I need to lift up?
It's done.
That's it, Omar. Thanks.
Thank you. Appreciate it. And thank you for keeping us on track. All right, agenda item number 6, general RFP updates. AECOM, all yours.
Thanks, Omar. Chris, would you be able to share your screen?
Yes, 1 second, just having a quick technical difficulty. Let me try again. Yeah, sorry, it might be just a couple minutes here. Rejoin from a different computer here. Apologies. All right, it looks like it's going to work. Are y'all able to see it?
Yes. All right, well, thanks. Good morning, all. So I'm just gonna discuss some general RFP updates at the top, and then we'll have a chance to open up for any comments on some of the RFP chapters that have been submitted for draft review so far. And then we'll have some discussions later on as well on specific recommendations for the FMEs, FMSs, and FMPs by the RFPG. We'll have some votes associated with that. And then a few of the later items are this will probably be tabled for a future meeting. I think agenda item 9 and most likely 10 will also be tabled for a future meeting, which we'll have soon. So I guess we can go on to the next slide. So for the general RFP updates in terms of the upcoming dates for our draft RFP submittal, we have another RFPG general meeting scheduled for Tuesday next week, July 22nd, 26th. During that meeting, we'll be covering a little bit more of the review process for the draft RFP. We're also going to be having another subcommittee 4 meeting next Wednesday, actually to formalize the recommendations that will be submitted or that will be presented to the RFPG for task 8. And then those recommendations will be approved or voted on in another RFPG meeting that we'll be having next Thursday. So there will be another chance to do that next week. So then in terms of the draft RFP deliverable, we'll be submitting the electronic deliverables by August 1st. Then during the month of August, we'll begin our public comment period. After it's once it's posted, we don't have a specific date on that yet, but we'll be determining that once it's submitted to the Water Development Board on August 1st. So after that public comment, or once the public comment period begins, the draft RFP materials will be all posted. There will be at least 30 days of period before we have a public hearing that will be in El Paso to focus on public discussion and comments on the draft RFP from the public. So we're anticipating that will occur sometime in September. And then there will be another 30 days at least for public comment after that. So at least 60 days of public comment. And we're estimating that time frame to be between August to October this fall. And then, of course, we all know that the final RFP deliverable is due to the Development Board by January of 2023. And then going ahead even further, we're going to be continuing with the RFP amendment. The actual work for tasks 12 and 13 will occur between August to June of next year, or August 2022 to June 2023, and then the adoption date for that is for the amended RFP is in July of next year. So I think we might have another RFPG meeting in mid-August after the RFP drafts are submitted to just discuss some of the discuss of the recommended FMEs and FMP, or of the recommended FMEs, which ones would the RFPG select to actually perform and develop as part of the amendment. So that's to be determined at a later date. We're thinking that meeting might occur in August, but yeah, in terms of the next couple weeks, we have a meeting today, and then we have a general meeting on Tuesday of next week, and then another one on Thursday of next week. And that's all I have for now. Any questions?
Okay. Yeah, could you remind me, please, what Subcommittee 4 does?
Yes, Subcommittee 4 is the subcommittee that's focused on Chapter 8, which is the administrative, regulatory, and legislative recommendations.
Thank you.
And there will be another Subcommittee 4 meeting on that, brief one next Wednesday for any subcommittee members.
Just Dave Hall, just to comment, in the Chapter 9 under 9112, there's a paragraph in there that says that the state legislature is not granted authority to counties to implement utility fees for stormwater and drainage. I'm wondering if Committee 4 is addressing that. And if they aren't yet, I'm suggesting that be one of the things placed on their agenda to maybe address that as one of the recommendations.
Yes, I can speak to that, Dave. This is Chris Wright. I can sort of speak to that. I did ask I spoke with Susan Roth about that before the last subcommittee meeting. And she did say that they would bring it up in the subcommittee meeting that happened yesterday, Subcommittee 4. And so I'm not sure if they did. I wasn't able to attend that meeting, and I don't think Susan is on the line, and I know Jeff could not attend today. So I can't say for certain whether it was discussed at the last meeting, unless maybe Gilbert Andujo or someone who was at the subcommittee meeting yesterday can confirm. But if it wasn't discussed yesterday, we'll make sure that is an agenda item on the upcoming meeting, which would be a week from today.
Okay, thanks. It
I'm
seems
sorry,
to me.
what was the concern, Mr. Hall? 'Cause I was there yesterday. I'm sorry, I didn't catch the.
Well,
No, that's all right.
I guess I don't want to speak for Dave, but I know the reason why I wanted to make sure that Susan discussed it was my understanding is that there was going to be a recommendation to have a county-wide sort of drainage fee, and it's not in the regulations. You can't do that at this point, and so that was, I guess, going to be a discussion whether if there was some language that needed to be tweaked on that recommendation. But so basically the subcommittee is, from my understanding, was going to make the recommendation to make a county-wide drainage fee, but that's not, you're not legally able to do that at this point. So if we need to tweak that recommendation somehow, I think that's what they were going to discuss.
I remember one of the line items discussed was drainage fees. I think in both Ector County and the counties outside, or Ector County, El Paso County and the counties outside of El Paso. I don't remember the specific language that we talked about, but we might have tweaked it slightly. I know that was on the tables for discussion and review yesterday.
Okay, yeah, and I was hoping we could kind of go over what was discussed at that meeting today, but I know Jeff at the last minute wasn't able to make this meeting. But since we are, like I said, we're going to get together next week and kind of go over it one more time. It'll be a lot briefer, I believe. I think the meeting yesterday was about an hour, and I think the one next week will be maybe 15 minutes to just kind of go through the notes of what was discussed. and get it on record that, you know, everyone is still in agreement with the final legislative recommendations. And then we will cover that at the next general RFPG meeting happening on this coming Tuesday, which will be the 26th. So we did have an agenda item to kind of talk about that today, but we're going to table that for the next meeting.
Okay, thanks.
Yep, thank you. All right, Brian, were you going to share for the chapters, going over the additional chapters that have been submitted? I think it was chapters 9 and 10 since the last RFPG meeting, and I have submitted chapter 4. I think Annette was having some issues uploading with the size of the PDF, and so it doesn't look like that's been added to the next RPG meeting agenda yet. But hopefully by today it should be uploaded. So chapter 4 is ready for review as soon as it gets uploaded, and so that means the remaining chapters are 5 and 6 that we hope to be getting to you this week is our goal. We also are working on the executive summary, so we're trying to get that out this week. But as Brian mentioned, that we're planning on holding one last meeting to kind of make sure that everyone has had a chance to review everything and provide any comments they have on the 28th of July. That morning, I believe 9 a.m. Mountain Time. So that'll be the final meeting before the submittal to TWDB. So at that point, you all should have all the chapters 3 days in advance. And like I said, we'll keep letting Annette know as they are ready that she can go ahead and post them. And so hopefully chapter 4 will get posted today. So Brian, did you want to share to go over those two chapters 9 and 10? Or
Well, yeah, so we didn't really have anything to share on the screen, but as we had kind of based on the format of one of our last RPG meetings, we did want to open up some space. If anyone has any comments on any of the chapter 9 or 10, I can take notes, kind of do the same format as before. If not, we can just move on and cover the review again at the next RPG meeting.
Okay, I'm going to pester you about chapter 9.
Okay, we'll take notes.
Brian, do you want to share your screen so we're looking at what he's looking at, or do you want me to pull it up, chapter 9?
Yeah, can you pull it up? I'll take notes on my side.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, while you're pulling it up, I'm just going to make kind of a general comment about the chapter. I think it appears to me that paragraphs 9.1 through 9.4 are the primary paragraphs for chapter 9. 9.1 is duplicated into 9.4. 9.2 is duplicated into 9.5. 9.3 is duplicated, and these duplications are word for word in what was put out. Into 9.6, 9.4 into 9.7, and 9.5 again into 9.8. So I'm not sure that 9, 1, 2, 3, and 4 might be all that's necessary in there. I'm just, and then I have some other comments by page, but it appears to be a lot of duplication in there.
Dave, you're absolutely right, and I am responsible for that, and I apologize. I tried to clear that up with Annette yesterday or the day before. I'm not sure if that message got to you, but yeah, there was a last minute formatting issue. Our secretary was not available at the time. We were trying to finalize this thing, and I'm horrible with Word. And so what happened was I was trying to update the table of contents, and somehow it copied the text like 3 or 4 times after the very end. So that was a formatting issue. You're right, it was duplicated I'm sorry if you read it multiple times, but it was only meant to be three sections: 9.1, 9.2, and 9.3. And after that, it started repeating. So I'm very sorry. That is my fault, because I'm just not very good with word formatting, and I should have done one last look at it before I posted that. But it was just like I said, normally we have the secretary kind of clean up that table of contents, and I was doing it myself that time.
Okay.
I've had the same issue happen to me, so.
I understand, no problem. I was thinking there might have been something else for 9.4, 9.5, 9.6, 9.7 that got omitted, but that's not the case, right?
That is correct. The latest version should be posted on there at this point. So it's just basically the same content, but it stops on page 913 after section 9.3, where you can see bold in chapter 8. Chapter 8 in bold, I should say. That's the end of the chapter there. So anything repeated after that is just a repeat.
Okay, let me go ahead and make some comments then, and if I'm just going to go page by page, and if somebody else is in between, please speak up. Under 9.1.1, at the bottom of the very first paragraph, I'm suggesting that acronym should be defined. You got to spell out SVI in there, because that appears to be the first time it appears in that chapter. And is up in the third line, are those populations defined, or, El Paso County has over 500,000. Is 50,000 defined by somebody, so we have to use 50,000 and 10,000, et cetera? Or should that read 500,000?
I think that's a typo. Yeah, I think that should read 500,000.
Okay, it may be that there's a definition somewhere that requires you to use 50, but I'm just asking.
No, I'll double check with one of the writers on this section, but I'm pretty sure that was supposed to be 500,000.
Okay, and then at the bottom of that page, the last paragraph, I already asked about that committee 4 recommendation, so I already did that. The top of the next page starts with the words impact fees. And there's no sentence on page 3 that joins with page 4. So I don't know if there's something omitted up there, but it starts with an open sentence, the words impact fees, and that there's something missing.
So
and I couldn't find that.
Saying impact fees, which are collected from development to cover portion of the expense to expand stormwater systems necessitated by the new development, can also be used as a source of local funding for flood-related efforts. So I think that's a complete sentence. It's just kind of a long one. Okay,
and I guess the capital I on impact means it's the beginning of a sentence. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Down under 9.1.1.4, under revenue bonds, the second paragraph. I'm sorry, the third paragraph that starts of the remaining 2 bond types. General obligation bonds are more common. What is the other type of bond? You don't list the 2 types and then specify that general obligation bonds are more common. So what are the, I suggest you put in there after 2 bond types, what are the 2 bond types?
I think that they're the general obligation bonds and certificates of obligation. I could be wrong, but I'll go back and I'll clarify that again with the writer of this section.
Okay, so that the next paragraph addresses the second bond type. Okay, yeah. Okay, if that's the case, I didn't recognize that as a bond. So okay, that answers.
We could try to clarify that just to make sure that's what we're meaning there.
And that's not on purpose, sir. They don't include the word bond because they don't require voter approval.
Okay, all right. So under for certificates of obligation. Okay. All right. I don't have any other comments on any. Oh yeah, I do. Let's see. Page 9.6, and if I'm skipping something that somebody else wants to comment on, yell. On 9.6, you put an acronym in under 9.1.2.2. It says the O&M grant program is a grant program for local soil and water conservation districts, and then the acronym. That means you got to go back and capitalize the word soil water conservation districts if you're going to put an acronym after it.
Yep, we will get that in there.
Okay. Sorry about grammar stuff.
No, we need to capture all that stuff, and like I said, sometimes our secretaries aren't available to read it all through before we get it to you. We're trying to get it to you as quickly as we can. So we are going to be going through and sort of doing a technical edit on all this stuff. But yeah, anything you find like that, please do point it out.
Okay, my next comment's on page 912. Anything anybody else has before that?
No.
Okay, that matrix that's there, the flood infrastructure financing analysis, I'm just wondering if there was any follow-up to a no response, and if there hasn't been a follow, will there be a follow-up to no responses?
Yeah, there were several waves of emails that went out, and so depending on which wave each one of these municipalities received depends on how many reminders they got. But I do know that we were pretty diligent about trying to reach out to people and get a response if we hadn't heard from them. So I think if they were in that first wave, then they probably got 2 or 3 reminders. And if they were in the second or third waves, they may have only received 1. But I know Annette was planning on sending out, one last email saying surveys are closed, but here's the results, the financial funding table, and just let us know if there's any final comments. So I don't know if she actually got that email out yesterday or not, but that is sort of the final reminder that everyone should get. So, but I do know that we did do a couple rounds of trying to remind people that didn't fill it out. And I was going to say also, we were kind of on the fence about whether to include the actual responses to this survey, since there are, we included the questions that were asked, but we do have a table that gives everyone's specific responses, and we were thinking about adding that as an additional appendix. But some entities might be a little bit sensitive about their responses. I'm not sure. I mean, we made it clear that this was for the regional flood plan, but I didn't know if any of y'all had any thoughts or objections if we go ahead and add that as an additional appendix that has each entity's actual responses to each question.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but this should be publicly available information on both ways. Most of the people you surveyed are government entities, and we're government funded projects. So I would encourage that you add it as an appendix. I mean,
okay.
This is still an open records request, with still anything sensitive would reveal it.
If somebody was concerned about their response and expressed that in the response, you might want to consider an asterisk next to it that simply says limited response or something like that. So somebody that's reading it is aware of that, if they did express that. Because you might have gotten some pretty candid answers here and there.
Yeah, like if there's feedback from members of the public, please don't identify a name, right? But we could be hard on governments.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah, I didn't see any objections to sharing the information or anyone saying that something was sensitive. So yeah, I don't think there would be a problem sharing it. And I think you're right, Omar, it should all be publicly available info. So yeah, we'll go ahead and add that as an additional appendix.
Thank you.
Okay, at the bottom of page 913, you referenced summarizing in table 9.1 below. 9.1, that table was actually 9.1 earlier in the chapter, but the table itself that's next is labeled 9.4. So I suggest that you change that to 9.4.
That's just a repeat.
Is it a repeat?
Yeah, that's a repeat.
Well, that's part of 9.3 though, which he said was still valid.
Is it after
Oh.
the chapter 8, the word chapter 8 in bold?
Yeah, it is.
I don't see
chapter 8.
Oh, chapter 8 in bold is
Yeah,
a
it's at the
repeat.
end. Yeah, that's the end.
After,
Oh, I
everything
got it.
after
Okay.
chapter 8 in bold is a repeat.
Okay. Forget about that comment then. I don't
Yeah,
have any
sorry
more.
about that. I really
Okay.
apologize, Dave.
That's the
and
limit of
everybody,
mine.
Yeah.
No problem. We got it. I
It was-
apologize for not listening to you about chapter
no
8.
worries on your end. We should have caught that. So
Okay,
all right,
so
anything-
9.3 ends at term chapter 8. I got it.
yes.
Okay, those are all my comments. I don't know if anybody else has any or not on chapter 9.
Oh, no.
We were lying, you did.
Well,
I mean, I read them.
I don't know. When we get ready to read chapter 4, I'm going to have to take a week, I think. That's a monster.
It is.
I'm glad I got it today.
All right, so I think that there was also a chapter 10 that was posted 3 days before this meeting. Did anyone have any comments on chapter 10? By the way, this is our appendix for that chapter 9, which has the funding survey results in here, in case anybody is interested. But yeah, any comments on chapter 10?
Actually, what you're showing is appendix B, 9B. 9A is that Upper Rio Grande Flood Planning Group facilitated by Rio Grande COG for El Paso questionnaire, I guess.
Yeah. So
Right. This was the appendix 9B is what I'm showing right now, and 9A was the this what I just pulled up, which is the questions. There's an introductory, just sort of explaining why we're asking these questions. Introductory sort of preface to the survey. And then these are the questions that were asked. And what I was just talking about was we're going to go ahead and publish those answers as a third appendix from each entity. But yeah, this was the survey, and then this was basically the results, how we incorporated the responses we got from that survey.
Let me ask you a question. I got another printout set that went from question 2 to question like 97 or 98. Is that set that same questionnaire? Or is that a different one that went out to the counties?
I'm not sure. There should
That
only
sounds like
be-
the stakeholder survey that we sent out to the stakeholders at the beginning and also the
Oh.
public.
Yeah, Brian was working on the chapter 10, and we were including a survey that was the stakeholder survey, which is different than this funding survey, which only went to the sponsors. The public survey / stakeholder survey is a different deal. And I don't know, Brian, do you know why it may have skipped from one question to 98 or?
Oh, no, they're all there. All the questions are there. So that's going to be included as a part of chapter 10?
Yes, the longer survey will be in chapter 10.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, and that should be posted right now on the agenda from this meeting. There should be a link to the chapter 10. So yeah, if there are no comments on that, we don't have to go through that. It's a pretty long chapter because of the appendices, which like we're saying, include all of the questions that were asked to the public and the stakeholders. So it's the chapter itself is not as long, but I think with all the appendices, it's like 200 something pages.
Yeah, but I mean the chapter itself is very concise. You put everything in tables. I have no comments on this one. I haven't been able to find typos the way David did.
okay.
Just a question. I also got copies of every one of the meeting minutes. Are those also attached as a part of chapter 10?
Yes.
So they're part of the appendix in chapter 10 also?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
The language in the chapter refers to.
Okay, so the only thing I didn't see was just the text of chapter.
The one favor I can ask for, please, is if when you all compile it into one PDF, and for example, you have a reference to Appendix 10B, this can be done over time. I don't know at what point, but if you can hyperlink within the same document so that it becomes so much easier to manage looking at the appendices. And then at the appendices, just for quality of life purposes, if you can also have a link to go back to the original chapter, like at the start of a chapter. So like the appendix for Appendix 10B, if at the upper left corner, you can just put a hyperlink so I can go back to chapter 10. Otherwise, this document's going to be a nightmare to navigate through. Thank you.
That's a good
Great idea,
suggestion. Yeah. Yeah, thank you. I could see that being a time-consuming effort. I don't know if we'll get it to in the initial version that gets out August 1st, but I do agree that's a ease of reading issue, and that would make it a lot easier for the reader. So we will put that on our master list of things we're trying to get incorporated, and if we can get that into the August 1st submittal, we will. If not, we might ask that you make that public comment, and we can get it in the comment period where we'll have a little bit more time to kind of fine tune and refine, edit everything.
Yeah, let's do it that way instead. Don't worry about it. I'll bring it up again, public comment. So,
Yeah,
okay.
for
scratch it off your to-do list.
for Appendix 10A, you have multiple sub-lists. You might either list in the front or also for each meetings. For example, general meetings, you have multiple meetings, you may have a table. You already have table in the context, but you might have a table in the cover page for Appendix A for general meeting and for subcommittee meetings and so. So that's why people, when they look at the cover sheet, they can see how many meetings we have, and if possible, you put page numbers for each subcommittee. Each meetings, so just on the table, like content table.
Table of contents, okay. Thank you.
That's all I have. Chapter 10 is really clean.
Yeah, it's very clean.
All right.
Get an attaboy for chapter 10.
Thank you, Brian.
But I know you
Brian
guys
gets-
are in
gets that
crunch time.
attaboy.
I can imagine how you guys are feeling. So
Well, we're doing our best to maintain a level of quality and get you all these chapters as soon as we can. Like I said, chapter 4 hopefully can get posted later today. I know there was like that issue with the size of the PDF is the only reason it's not at this point. But yeah, if there's no other comments, we
Actually,
will,
I did have one just kind of last point to make on chapter 10. I know we had looked at the list of members, voting members, non-voting members for the RFPG, those tables. Those were originally in chapter 1. We have since removed those from chapter 1 and moved them into chapter 10 where I think it fits better. So just note that we won't be duplicating content in both places where we have removed those tables from chapter 1.
That's good.
got it.
And then your other chapters, you also mentioned subcommittees, some with members, some without, and now you can just refer to chapter 10 much easier.
Yeah.
Just cut out. Good, thank you.
All right, so if there's no other comments on the chapters that have been submitted so far, we will jump into the RFPG recommendations for FMEs, FMSs, and FMPs. So I know this is
great.
I know this is a lot of words on one slide. Hopefully y'all had a chance to review it in the meeting materials in advance. If there are any questions, specifically about any of these RPGs. I'm just kind of scrolling through all 4 tables right now. I'll go ahead and explain how they're laid out. They're formatted similarly to what you're going to see in chapter 4 and 5. These in particular are the recommended tables that will be included in chapter 5. The chapter 4 includes the same information, but their tables are a lot longer, a lot wider. They have more columns. So what we had to do was break up the table into multiple tables to share all of that information without making things super tiny. So I tried to do that without confusing things too much, because I know that there was a comment last time about how the tables kind of fit together. So what I did was, this is the first set of rows and the first set of columns. I highlighted them in green. And as you go to the next table, you can see the columns were changed to, sorry, I just got the columns were changed to blue, meaning that, this is the next set of rows, but then the header is still green. So this is the first set of columns. I'm sorry, the rows changed to blue, but the columns changed to, stayed green. I'm confusing it more. So basically, this is an extension downwards in length. There are other ones in chapter 4 that also get extended out to the right. So then I tried to change the column header color if they were being extended out to the right. It's a little confusing, I know, but maybe I can find an example that's a little easier to share, because I think this one only extended down lengthwise. It didn't extend out to the right. So
and then the green goes across. So this is down and.
Yeah, but green stays constant up here.
Okay.
I think it works for the amount of information you put in on these tables. I mean, it'll work.
Okay, great. Yeah, I know it was hard to squeeze everything in there, but like I said, chapter 4 has more columns, so we had to take this to the next level and extend it both ways on some of these. And I think I've got probably an example pull up here to show you what I'm talking about. But besides formatting aside, I just wanted to share that real quick, and yeah, this is kind of what I'm talking about. So on this one, we go down, the row colors change, but we're still looking at the same headers. And then as we go to the next page, we keep the first description, and we keep the FME ID, but then this is the next set of columns that you'll see. And then we go down, and now the rows change. We keep those columns, and then we get to the third set, which is the last set of columns. And again, we start back at the top with the first rows, and we go down to the same, the second set of rows there. So kind of goes to the next level, but that's the best way we could try to fit it all on, in a visible size text.
Mhm.
Does that make sense to everyone, or any questions about that?
That's good.
Okay.
What was just one quality of life change, if you will, please. There's some columns that are not centered, but the header is centered. So if you can just, whenever you get a chance, if you can just make sure there's consistency all throughout, it just makes it a lot easier to read.
Okay, so you're saying if we have the header censored, try to make the content censored?
Where it makes sense. There's some areas where it's not as constant as we could have it.
Okay, yeah, we'll take another look at that.
Thank you.
Do we need
Okay.
a motion to accept these?
Well, so yeah, besides the formatting, I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about these recommendations first. So the first two tables are for FMEs. You can see the FME in this column, and then these are the IDs for each one of our recommendations. we've shared some of these. We shared all of these in previous meetings, but we have not yet voted on recommending them. And so, like I said, the first two tables are all the FMEs. The second two tables are all the FMSs. And these are the recommendation tables. So again, they don't have all of the columns that are included in Chapter 4 evaluation tables, which have a little bit more data. But over here in the far right-hand column is the reasons for recommendation. There weren't really any guidance on, a lot of these had requirements. You could only answer certain ways. According to TWDB, this was kind of open-ended, the reason for recommendation. So, what we chose as sort of a boilerplate response on a lot of these at this time is that it aligns with RFPG and stakeholder goals as our reason for recommendation. And, we can get more specific, but that's what we have in there right now. And I didn't know if anybody had any comments or suggestions about, whether we should mention any other reason for recommendation. But a lot of these came from stakeholder workshops, and that's why we included them. And then there is a column as well for associated goals, so you can see the goal ID that each one of these lines up with in each of these tables. So that's another reason why we included it. Any comments there about the language we chose for reason for recommendation?
Just a quick question. Since we are going to review Chapter 4 or remaining part of the Chapter 4, is this reflecting Chapter 4? Or
yes.
Whether you want to vote now or you want to vote after?
Yeah. Let me clarify something there in the agenda. We were hoping to have gotten Chapter 4 to you all 3 days in advance of this meeting, so that we could talk about Chapter 4 and go through comments on that one. But we only got that to Annette yesterday morning, so it wasn't 3 days in advance of posting the materials for this meeting. So we're going to talk about that at the next general RFPG meeting. Any chapters on any comments on Chapter 4 we'll discuss at Tuesday, our meeting scheduled for Tuesday the 26th. But yeah, this information is in Chapter 4 that, like I said, hopefully gets posted today. But these are the condensed version of the tables. So these are the recommendation tables that will be in Chapter 5, which we have not posted yet. But what we wanted to accomplish today was go ahead and vote on these recommendations. If there are any reasons that anyone thinks we should not recommend any of these FMEs, FMSs, or FMPs, please let us know. We have already approved some of these FMPs. You can see in this right-hand column, I'll zoom in a little bit.
Chris,
that there's a number of these that say yes, approved, and that's from previous RFPG meetings where they were voted on for approval. If it says yes, we recommend, but it's pending approval, that will be covered in today's meeting. So the ones that are pending out of the FMPs are, scroll over here. So EA9A is a sediment basin that's in the City of El Paso Stormwater Master Plan. I know EP Water is working on I think the preliminary design of that one, EA9A and EA10A right now. We approved EA10A, but we hadn't approved EA9A for recommendation yet. The other one, NW3, is a pump station that is also included, proposed pump station upgrade, Pump Station 1 in El Paso. and that one is also in the stormwater master plan.
Chris,
Yes.
is it a chapter that was chapter 4, version 3 that was posted today? Is that, have you made changes to that in the last couple of days? Or is that
Yeah.
exactly the same as what?
The county
I
does
the
it.
same chapter, with
Once.
the same file name from
They're-
10 days ago.
Yeah, let me comment on that. So we had another meeting where we reviewed a partial version of that chapter. We wanted to go ahead and get you as much as we could from that chapter before our last RFPG meeting, and that's because it had all of this information from the evaluation tables in there. We've updated these tables and we've cleaned them up and we've extended that chapter. So there are some updates. What we submitted previously was a partial version, and now we've gone through. We
File
have
names are
changed.
exactly the same. So that's confusing because the file names are exactly the same. The one you sent me 10 days ago has the same file name. So
Are you referring to a new file name that's been posted online? Because I don't think it's been posted online yet, the full version. The one that I sent you a few days ago, that was still the partial version.
I got 2 notices from Gilbert and Duval today that there was a WeTransfer that I needed to review the chapter within the next 24 hours. Those just came through this morning.
Gilbert, do you want to speak to that? Did you send out chapter 4 for review? Was that the chapter 4?
It came from WeTransfer, actually from you, due July 21st. Maybe that's the same transfer, the same file that you put up before.
Oh, you know what that was? Yeah, that's the original version. That's not the updated version. I think that's just a WeTransfer automatic reminder because we had set up a review. So yeah, I apologize for the confusion there. That was just to you because I know you had asked for some additional tables, and I think that just went out as a reminder because I set like a due date for today.
Okay.
So that's still the old version.
My confusion, sorry.
No worries. That's I should have explained that. So anyways, back to this table here. The ones that are pending approval, we talked about EA9A, NW3 is pump stations 1 and 2. We've got SSA4, which is a El Paso County Stormwater Master Plan project. We've got develop and implement floodplain ordinance to regulate development at Hudspeth County, which was something that Joanna McKinney brought up to the RFPG. We have install floodgates in Marfa and monitoring gauge on North Alameda Creek at Highway 17. And that one is also pending approval. We've talked a little bit about that one. SH20 drainage improvements. That's a TxDOT project for 8 crossings on Mesa Street, which they recommended and prioritized in a feasibility study. That one is the last one that's still pending approval. One more thing I'll mention here is that, the benefit cost ratio on all of these is very low. We're talking like zeros, 0.1s, 0.2s. That has to do with right now, these analyses, our focus was to get in the highest priority projects from the EP Water, EP County Stormwater Master Plans and the rest of the region, which we went through our process of kind of scoring which ones we were trying to evaluate. We weren't focused on trying to optimize the BCR for this first cycle. There are several requirements on information that we have to provide, and if we tried to model these things and optimize, get the highest possible BCR, we weren't going to get half of these projects into the plan, and our main goal was to get all of them into the plan. So we're going to have to justify in chapter 5 how we evaluated these things. We didn't consider the roadway benefits. There are some other benefits from nature-based solutions or other things that we could try to, you know, squeeze in to get those optimized, but there just wasn't enough time in this first cycle. So you know, we're going to leave them in here, as even though they have very low BCRs, we still plan on recommending them because we want them to be in the plan so that they can be eligible for funding in the future. The other thing I'll say real quick about the BCRs is that we included not just the construction costs, but we included final design and contingencies. And that was because we wanted to make sure that for future grants that become available, that you all are able to apply for funding for not just the construction, but the final design as well. So these costs, you know, the BCR is based on total everything with contingencies, with final design in there. That's another thing that lowers the BCRs a little bit. And all of the costs that we came up with related to construction or land costs, you know, those are broken out in the narratives that were provided in the partial version of Chapter 4, and they will be posted in the updated version of Chapter 4, so you can see, you know, what construction costs we assumed, and we converted it to September 2020 dollars, which was a requirement for the RFP by Texas Water Development Board. So again, I just wanted to mention that that's another reason the BCRs are very low, but yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to say before we voted on these, and just make sure that there were no objections in regard to that or in any other information that's presented here.
I do have a question. BCRs were pretty important to many of the stakeholders that are like El Paso Water Irrigation District. And I know one of the wish lists we had was from this effort to have as much PCR information available so that should there be any funding available, we can transition onto that quickly. Having said that, since we're going to have very limited BCR for many of these strategies, what would be the plans? I know we said we're going to talk about it later, but what investment do you think we would need from now until, let's say, when TWDB makes, if they make any new funding available, to be able to update BCRs for a lot of these projects? Like, what would be the plan to get the information we need?
Right. So we came across this with El Paso County's Stormwater Master Plan when the FIF, the Flood Infrastructure Fund grant, you know, was first posted and accepted applications at that time. It's been made clear through communications with Texas Water Development Board that these projects are not going to be held, you know, to the information that's strictly in this plan. The TWDB, from our understanding in coordination with them, they understand that, you know, new information becomes available, new studies get done, which could, you know, increase some of these BCRs. So when a new grant opportunity becomes available, you shouldn't be limited to only submit or be able to claim the BCR that's in this plan. What you'll be able to do is submit the information at that time and try to, at that point, you can include roadway benefits. You can include, you know, other multiple benefits related to the environment or other things to try to reflect, you know, the best representation of what you think that BCR is worth. You could probably focus on just construction costs. Our focus here was to get as many of these projects in the plan so that they would be eligible to then submit for that application. And at that point, you can do your best to really reflect all of the benefits that are in this project. We just couldn't get to that level of effort with all of these projects, you know, in this first cycle. I think we've identified several studies and strategies that are focused on developing this level of information for other projects. And so I think in future cycles, we'll be able to or whichever consultants are hired, you know, we'll be able to get those BCRs a little bit higher. It's just for this particular round, you know, it was a lot of information and a lot of work to get all these into the plan, and that was our main goal. So there is going to be some level of effort if you want to submit some of these with higher BCRs. There should be that opportunity when these grant applications become available. But the main point we want to make is they'll be eligible, at least for these projects, to submit those applications because they're in the plan.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Jack, you have a comment? I just I now I understand what your intention. I think that's the remaining item from previous general meeting, not from the documentation review. So with that in mind, I think we are at the stage to approve these tables even before review the document. So if no further question, I have motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, we've got first and a second. Any further discussion? Sorry, Gilbert.
Gilbert, you're,
It was a
you're in
chipmunk that
Smurf
joked
mode.
about.
Sorry, that happens to Gilbert only. I feel so bad for him. There's no one else in AECOM that I know that happens to, but it happens to him, I think, once a day. Sorry, Gilbert, we still can't understand you. Usually he just has to hang up and jump back on, but sorry to interrupt your all's vote there. I'll let you all continue.
Any further discussion? Mr. Bennett, I see your hand raised. Is this regarding the motion?
No, that's from another 5 minutes ago. Sorry.
Okay, I'm back, guys. Y'all can hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I was just gonna bring up that Jeff had his hand up, but that was from a previous one.
Okay.
Did we get the question answered, Jeff?
Yeah, it was about chapter 4, the versions that were floating around.
Okay, all right.
Got it. Well, all in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
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 Is there anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes.
All
So
right.
then we're moving on to agenda item number 9. Is that correct?
Yeah. Actually,
Good
this one we are going to table because we're going to finalize that decision in next week's meeting, which will be a week from today on the 27th. But does anybody who attended the
26?
26?
There's a
26?
subcommittee.
Oh,
No,
subcommittee.
I think on the 26th is the next general RFPG meeting where we'll be talking about the remaining chapters that we submit. And then the 27th is the next subcommittee 4 meeting where they're going to briefly go over the changes that were talked about yesterday in yesterday's meeting. And then we'll vote on this. We will then vote on those subcommittee recommendations on the 28th, which will be Thursday. So we have 3 meetings total next week scheduled. 2 general RFPG meetings happening on the 26th and the 28th to review, get any final comments on the chapters, and get approval to submit to TWDB the whole plan on the 28th. And then we have the final subcommittee 4 meeting on the 27th. So apologize, there's 3 meetings next week, but only 2 of them are general RFPG. But yeah, we're just trying to make sure we get everyone a chance to review the chapters in time and get that final approval on the 28th. But we were going to table this on task 8 unless anybody who attended the meeting yesterday has any comments. You know, my understanding was that it went really well, that there was a lot of participation from the communities. So I didn't know, does anyone have any comments or questions about what was discussed at this subcommittee 4 meeting yesterday? Otherwise, we'll go over it next
Hey,
meeting.
Chris, before you get into that, I think Gisela has a question. I don't know if she has a question before that or what. Gisela?
Yeah, so I won't be available for the 27th meeting and the 28th meeting either. But if you can, I can talk to you. I don't know if I can talk to you briefly on the site just so you can put me up to speed, and maybe I can do a review on the site and send you guys comments.
Sure.
I will say, Gilbert and everyone from the ACOM team, that there's a lot of members that are not gonna be able to make it on the 28th. So be prepared for a contingency. See how we can work it out. If we can do this, we can do as much as possible on the Tuesday. Because there's already been a couple of people that have said that they might not be able to make it. So I'm worried about quorum and whether we can even get you the final blessing or not.
Yeah, no, thanks for bringing that up. I know there were some other options like the 29th, but it would have to be at 9 a.m. because I know Annette was having a conflict at 11, I believe. So that might be another option if we need to make quorum. But we can talk about that. And I guess it looks like Jeff Bennett can't make one of the dates. Is that right, Jeff?
I can't make Tuesday, and honestly, I'm off next week. I'll be traveling all week. It'll be tough for me to call in. I'll do my best, but it'll be tough.
I'm in a similar situation. Tuesday, I can make Thursday, and I'll check on Wednesday.
What about Friday? Does that better Friday morning at 9 a.m. Mountain Time for anybody than Thursday 9 a.m. Mountain Time?
I can do Friday anytime in the afternoon, but my morning's already booked with tours and meetings and stuff.
Then what I recommend is next week, let's try to be as flexible as possible. I mean, all we have, I know that you have your agenda posting rules. And so just be prepared to make adjustments early in the week so that we can get you that final blessing. Or if we were able to meet quorum on Tuesday, try to word it so that Tuesday would be the day. So that we get you as much approved as possible, because I mean, with like that language that you include without any substantive changes and things like that, because it's getting real tough to meet quorum. It's gonna get real tough to meet.
Right, I understand, and yeah, we apologize. We know that it's a lot of meetings, and it's tough to get everybody that needs to be here at those meetings. We just wanted to make sure that you all had all the materials, to review before providing the blessing to submit this to TWDB. We could have a vote here today as sort of a backup that, pending any remaining significant comments that get made on any future submittals based on what you all have seen so far. If it's up to the level of quality that you're, that you've are expecting, maybe we could, I don't know if you all feel comfortable or not, but we could make a vote here today in case we aren't able to meet quorum next week, just to ensure that we can submit to TWDB. That was originally part of our plan in this meeting. In the agenda, we do have an item to vote here. That
So to what you're saying, first of all, I admire ACOM. You guys did an enormous amount of work with a really limited time, and my opinion is that the work you've delivered has been consistently high quality. And I know it's the first of many rounds of flood planning that we're going to be working on. So I personally feel comfortable trusting that everything you guys send us, it requires minor corrections, typos. The major core of this plan, the recommendations for FMEs, FMSs, FMPs, and the legal framework in chapter, those have already been covered at sufficient detail. So having to go through every chapter, even though I appreciate it, I really think that you guys are doing your own internal QA/QC anyway. So I feel comfortable voting and giving you the authorization to submit. pending those non-substantial edits now. And so that way, in case anything happens next week, we'll at least we will have met our commitment to the TWDB and you will be within contract. So I feel comfortable that way. And at that point, I'll entertain a motion for agenda item number 10 to see if you all agree with me.
I'll motion.
A second.
Okay,
Just
any
to
further
clarify,
discussion?
I'm sorry to jump in, to clarify the motion that's being entertained, are we making modifications to the way it's written? Because I think in the agenda, we had that language about non-substantive edits.
Yeah, and I think that was the intent.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, in accordance with item 10.
Yeah.
So we got first and a second. Anybody else want to chime in on this? All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
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 Is there anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes. So that takes a huge load off of everyone's back, I'm sure.
Right. I think that's a good idea. I think that we, as Brian was mentioning, you know, this non-substantial edits might be a little, not sure if it's the best language. You know, I think that maybe we should consider revising some of this just to be clear about what we're voting on here. I know that y'all just voted, but I don't want it to pop up, you know, that we didn't get this final approval to submit. But basically what we're asking for is, you know, approval to submit the total TWDB deliverable. So I don't know. I think it might be worth just taking one more stab at this wording here during this meeting, just in case we can't meet quorum next week. I want it to be as clear as possible. So what I'm suggesting is maybe we consider voting on some language that says discussion and action to vote for approval of draft RFP deliverables as presented by AECOM with authorization of consultant political subdivision to submit the draft RFP deliverables to TWDB, including all chapters, and digital geodatabases.
You're removing non-substantial edits?
Right, and the reason I'm removing that is because there's, well, there are still some chapters that are to be reviewed. So, you know, we want to make sure that you all have the opportunity to comment. And if you have some comments that have substantial changes, then we want to be able to make those changes. So I'm not sure best way to capture all that. But I think that this language is a little bit, make sure that we can make those substantial edits if you all have comments on chapters that you all haven't seen yet.
Okay, move, how about the remove that sentence, but add a pending review remaining chapters. So
But I guess that defeats the purpose of voting right now, right? Just in case we don't make the other meetings for quorums, you know? What the intent, Chris, was to be able to submit this just in case we don't have any of the other meetings next week.
Yeah, I think the way to word this that might capture that is we could say, you know, this is pending any significant comments that the RFPG can make, which they can request for
I don't
chapters yet to be
think we have an
submitted.
issue with meeting on Tuesday. I think we've only had one person that said they're not going to be there on Tuesday. I think the issue was the meeting on Thursday. So Tuesday's meeting should be able to easily cover 4 and 5, assuming we get 5 early enough to review it. We have 4. So the only issue here is Thursday, I think, and being able to review the results of the task 8 recommendations from Wednesday.
I don't know if I will be able to attend Tuesday, but I think there's at least 3 or 4 members that are in subcommittee 4 meeting that were in attendance yesterday. I don't know if we can go ahead and vote on being able to submit chapter 8. Myself was there, Omar, Gilbert, you were there as well. I don't know if Sal's on.
I don't think Sal's on.
I think we addressed all of our concerns yesterday's meeting. I would feel comfortable approving chapter 8 already.
Yeah, I think one of the main reasons we need to have that meeting to just document everything in a recorded meeting, because there were issues with the recording on that, and that's why we're trying to get this officially on the record for having it, and that's why I think it could only be like a 15-minute meeting next Wednesday. But that was the main purpose of having that extended. And also we wanted Jeff to be able to talk about those recommendations. He couldn't be here today. So that's another reason we're trying to table it for next week.
But why can't you just add to the text that's in item 10? Why can't you just add pending input, committee or general group input for chapters 4, 5, and task 8?
Okay, so I mean, I tried to capture that, and this assumes there are no significant comments that RPG will make.
Chris, are you sharing your screen? I'm not seeing your screen.
Yeah, you're sharing.
Am I sharing an email?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry about that. Let's see. Are you all seeing anything now?
No, it's still your email.
Is it reasonable just to do what I suggested and use the same text that's in 10 and just add that comment about the potential for comments on 4, 5, and 8?
I'm just trying to read what email I'm sharing. Is it
I think Jeff Bennett is. We're seeing Jeff Bennett's screen.
Oh, Jeff, you must be sharing your screen. I'm gonna say that email didn't look familiar.
That's funny.
Okay, sorry about that.
So much for privacy, huh?
I thought I was sharing my screen. I'm sorry about that. Let me try again. Okay. Are you all seeing the language on my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was voted on is up here at the top. What I was suggesting, maybe make it a little bit more clear, adding something along the lines of, this assumes there are no significant comments that the RPG will make, which they may request for chapters yet to be submitted. So in other words, if you all have some significant comments, we can have another vote on this. If there are no significant comments in future chapter submittals, then this would give us the approval to submit by August 1st.
That's fine.
That's fine.
Hey, can we ask Richard? Richard, are you fine with that language? If you're still on?
I'm I don't see any huge red flags, so I am going to leave it for you guys to determine. But I don't see anything in rules or our guidance or anything that says no, you can't do that. So I'll say that.
Thank you.
Gilbert, will we have chapter 5, the rest of chapter 5 out this week?
Yes, sir. That's what the intent is. And Chris, when are we actually really trying to get that one out by?
So those remaining chapters in the executive summary, if we were to cover those comments in the next July 26th meeting, they will be due Saturday morning at 9 a.m. to be posted 3 days in advance. What's remaining to be clear are chapters 4 is done. That should be posted later today. Chapters 5 and 6 are not submitted yet. And the executive summary has not been submitted yet. So I can say with confidence, chapter 5, I don't see any obstacles in getting that submitted by the end of this week, along with chapter 4, which is already submitted. It's possible if we run into some issues with chapter 6 or the executive summary. You know, I don't want to say for certain, you know, we're definitely doing our best to get that in, but if chapter 6 and the executive summary don't get submitted by the end of this week, then a meeting on the 28th or 29th to cover any remaining comments on those. You all should have them by Monday or Tuesday of next week, so that we could cover that on the 28th or 29th. So that's the only thing where we might still need those 2 days to go over comments on those last 2 chapters. But like I said, we're trying to get everything to you all by this Friday, so hopefully we can wrap up any remaining comments by on Tuesday of next week.
Okay, it's Dave. I'm a hard copy guy. You know, I go through page by page and don't usually use a computer to do that. So is there any chance that instead of being out Saturday, that they might be out by noon on Friday? So I could come by and pick up a copy here at the COG?
Yeah, I think that that is possible. Like I said, we're going to be giving them to Annette as they're ready. So you know, if we can get it earlier than end of day Friday, we will certainly do that. We're definitely doing our best to get you all these chapters as soon as we can.
Yeah, if they get it on Saturday, I won't get a chance to get it till Monday, which is like 1 day prior. For if it's as thick as 4, I need a little more time.
You know what, Dave? We've been kind of doing something similar with Jeff in getting him these chapters to review. We're trying to have him do sort of a holistic review, make sure that everything flows, and he likes to print things out as well. We've been having our secretary print them out and overnight them to him. So I think that if I can coax her into it, maybe she can print that out for you and like overnight it to you. If we don't get it by noon, we'll stay in touch and we'll do our best to try to get your copy. If we need to overnight it or something, we can try to do that.
Okay, let me give you an address in case you have to.
All right, don't give it on this public meeting though. We'll follow up.
Oh, I don't mind. Everybody knows.
No, I don't feel comfortable with you giving out your address on this meeting. We'll get it.
Okay, well send me an email and I'll send it back to you on email.
Okay, we'll do that.
Okay, all right.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate that.
If we have to meet on the 29th for whatever reason, Annette says it would have to be at 8:30 a.m. Mountain Time.
And Gisela was afternoon only.
Yeah. So again, yeah, we're running out of a whole bunch of quorum issues and availability issues. So that's why we need a revote, right, on item number 10. So entertain a motion to void the previous agenda item number 10 motion and adopt the new language, which is seen on the screen.
Okay, since I motioned the last one, I'll motion this one too.
Okay, same people. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, motion passes.
I think we've taken care of 11 already,
Right.
because that's the next meeting.
Oh, yeah. Let's skip 11. We're done with that one. Anything else you need to talk to us about, ACOM team?
I don't think so. Like I said, we'll try to keep on the agenda these meetings that we talked about next week. We understand there might be some issues meeting quorum, but I think that what you all voted on here today gives us the ability to submit to TWDB, which is, we thank you for that. And, we wish we could have gotten you all the chapters before having this vote, but this gives us at least a backup in case y'all can't make the meetings next week.
Thank you. No, I think it's
Yes, and we appreciate that, Omar and RFPG group. Thank you.
Okay,
okay.
I'll look for an email from you, Chris, when I get home, so I'll give you my address.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Okay.
Dave.
So
Thanks,
let's
everybody.
give everybody back their 30 minutes. Motion to adjourn, please.
Wow, early.
Moved.
Okay, Jeff Bennett, a second, please.
Second.
Can't be Jeff.
Levi
Levi.
will second, yeah.
All in favor, please indicate so by saying aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Please. Motion passes. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Too.
Bye.
Bye.